It is 6:30 in the morning and I just woke up to crazy good news for everyone pulling for Makoto. Queen has gotten a pretty sizable buff with her release on global. And these changes are important for both free-to-play players and whales alike because they did buff her at A0 and at A1. So I gotta talk about it. As always, I will be pulling for Queen today, so if you'd like to watch that, subscribe here or follow on Twitch. Now let's get right into it. So going down the line here and starting with her skill 1, her skill 1 now grants elemental debuffs. And for those of you who aren't aware with Persona in general or aware of how Nuke works, technical damage is a big thing. The way that this skill used to read before was that it deals a percentage of Makoto's attack as nuclear damage 5 times to random enemies, but it prioritizes enemies that haven't already been hit. If multiple hits strike the same target, the damage is reduced, and if the main target has an elemental element, it inflicts technical and deals an additional amount of damage. And this has a 100% base chance to inflict radiation. And the way that this skill got changed is that it now also reads that it inflicts a random elemental element on the target of each hit, prioritizing inflicting ones the target doesn't already have. Makoto being able to do this on herself now is big. Do I think it'll completely change if you're playing her with Vino? Probably not. You're still going to want to run her with Vino probably. But her ability to do this if you do use her skill 1 is not something to ignore at all. This is a good buff. Another reason that this change for skill 1 is so important is because of her passive Chief Strategist. It is her first passive, and during battle for each different type of elemental element on foes, it increases her attack by 5%. So if you are using skill 1, she'll just be buffing herself even more. Makoto's skill 2 was also changed, and it was changed in 2 different ways. For one, the attack increase now lasts for double the amount of turns, being raised from 1 to 2, and the amount of stacks you get from using this skill was increased from 2 to 3. For those of you unaware of how Makoto's stacks work, it is explained with her A0, and her stacks are called Tenacity. And if you are to scroll down, you can see here, if Makoto has 5 Tenacity stacks at the start of her turn, she can activate Crash Out, increasing attack by 40% and defense by 20%, and evolving Nuclear Fury to Thermal Nuclear Fury for 2 turns. And Nuclear Fury is her skill 3. So I think it's pretty obvious you want to have Makoto in this state as much as possible for the attack increase and the defense increase. It's a pretty sizable increase. And Makoto's skill 2 now increasing her own attack by even more for double the amount of turns, and giving her an extra stack for using it is not something at all to ignore. This will get you into your Crash Out state, your 5-stack state, even faster if you do use this skill. And if you do use it, you're getting a passive attack buff. Makoto's skill 3 is the only one that remained unchanged, so I'm not going to go too in depth about it because this isn't a guide. I'll probably be uploading the guide tomorrow. But her skill 3 is basically the big damage hit that you want to be using when you have 5 Tenacity stacks. And for her last skill, her skill 4, her Thief Tactics skill, her highlight skill, if Queen doing 390.4% of her attack as nuke damage just wasn't enough for you for some reason, it now does 468.5% of attack as nuke damage to one foe. If somehow her highlight skill wasn't hitting like enough of a truck for you already. And there are buffs for this character even beyond just her 4 main skills. Her buffs stretch even into her base A0 1 copy form. I'm going to reference Najox P5X's tweet on this because they put it in a perfect way. Basically putting forward the important part while making it so we don't have to read the entire long passive to understand. The A0 used to stack based upon only the attack target. Now it stacks based on all the opponents at the end of the turn. Basically, this gives Makoto more stacks even faster for the opponents that have elemental elements attached to them. And this is probably her most important buff. This is going to have you in your 5-stack Crash Out state even more consistently. You're going to get your stacks faster, you're going to be in Crash Out more often, so you're going to be doing even more damage as Makoto. This is a great buff that might change Makoto's rotations completely while also just giving her more damage potential to a character that was already pretty insane. And Queen's final change, and a big one for those of you who are pulling for a copy, is her A1. The way that her A1 passive used to work is that at the start of battle she starts with 5 stacks, allowing her to start in Crash Out on the first turn. And while she's in this state, her attack is further increased by 50%. This is one you can catch quite easily going back to the global tab because it literally just reads, and damage increased by 35%. They just added another 35% damage boost to this already great A1. Why they did this, I don't know, but this is a crazy buff for those of you who are pulling for an A1. And that's all the Makoto buffs summarized for you really quickly. I, for one, am really excited about this, and I hope you are too. If I did help you out, I hope you can consider subscribing. That's gonna be all for me. I'm out. Peace.